Gaius Caesar, later known as Caligula, remains one of the most controversial and enigmatic figures in Roman history. A man whose reign, though brief, continues to fascinate and repel in equal measure, shrouded in a thick fog of rumor, propaganda, and historical bias. Born in Antium in 12 AD, Gaius was one of Tiberius Claudius Nero's grandsons, and his early life was far from the glittering courts of Rome, spent largely away from the capital due to Tiberius's preference for seclusion and his suspicion of potential rivals. His name, Gaius, was a common one, but Caligula, meaning Little Boots, was a mocking nickname bestowed upon him during his military parade in Spain. As a young boy, when he wore small military boots, mimicking his father, Germanicus, a celebrated general. Germanicus, Gaius' father, was immensely popular, a symbol of Roman strength and virtuous leadership, and his sudden death in 19 AD cast a long shadow over the young Gaius's life, fostering a deep-seated resentment towards Tiberius, whom he suspected of involvement. Tiberius' reign was marked by increasing paranoia and autocratic rule, further isolating Gaius and fostering an atmosphere of distrust and suspicion within the imperial household. The early years of Tiberius's reign were characterized by financial stability and relative peace, but his later years witnessed a decline in morale and an increase in political intrigue. Upon Tiberius' death in 37 AD, the Praetorian Guard, acting under the guidance of Sejanus, a powerful advisor, proclaimed Gaius as emperor, effectively bypassing the Senate's traditional role in succession. Initially, Gaius's reign appeared promising. He abandoned Tiberius's policy of isolation, returning to Rome and engaging in public appearances, seemingly eager to connect with the populace. He implemented several popular measures, including tax reductions, lavish games and spectacles, and the restoration of some of the freedoms curtailed during Tiberius' rule. His generosity and perceived benevolence earned him widespread approval, and for the first few months, he seemed poised to be a successful and beloved ruler. However, this period of apparent normalcy was short-lived, as a debilitating illness struck Gaius in late 37 or early 38 AD, fundamentally altering his behavior and character, though the exact nature of the illness remains a subject of debate among historians. Some scholars believe he suffered from encephalitis, epilepsy, or hyperthyroidism, while others propose psychological explanations, ranging from severe depression to latent personality disorders exacerbated by the stress of ruling. Regardless of the underlying cause, Gaius's behavior became increasingly erratic, impulsive, and grandiose, leading to a gradual erosion of public confidence and a surge in rumors and accusations of madness. He began to exhibit signs of paranoia, accusing senators and officials of plotting against him, and initiating brutal purges that decimated the ranks of the Roman elite. His extravagant spending continued unabated, with vast sums of money poured into ambitious construction projects, extravagant banquets, and the organization of increasingly bizarre and theatrical spectacles. One of his most infamous projects was the construction of the pontoon bridge across the Bay of Baiae, ostensibly to allow him to ride his horse to the island of Capri, a demonstration of his perceived contempt for Roman traditions and norms. His declaration of his sister Drusilla as a goddess, and his subsequent mourning of her death with excessive and public displays of grief, further cemented the perception of him as eccentric and detached from reality. The Senate, increasingly alarmed by his erratic behavior and the erosion of senatorial authority, attempted to assert its independence, but their efforts were met with swift and brutal repression. He accused the Senate of treason and ordered the execution of several prominent senators, effectively ending any hope of reconciliation and escalating the atmosphere of fear and mistrust. His relationship with the Praetorian Guard, initially a source of support, deteriorated as his erratic behavior and paranoia alienated them, and rumors of his plans to replace them with German bodyguards added to their discontent. The narrative that has come down to us largely relies on the writings of Suetonius, Tacitus, and Dio Cassius, all of whom wrote after his death, and their accounts are often colored by political biases and sensationalism. Suetonius, in his Lives of the Caesars, paints a particularly lurid picture of Caligula's depravity, detailing alleged acts of incest, cruelty, and sexual perversion, though the veracity of many of these accounts has been questioned by modern historians. Tacitus, writing during the reign of Domitian, portrays Caligula as a tyrant, driven by unrestrained ambition and a pathological desire for power, highlighting his contempt for Roman traditions and institutions. Dio Cassius, writing centuries later, echoes many of the same accusations, further solidifying the image of Caligula as a mad and monstrous ruler, though his account is also influenced by his own political perspectives. It's crucial to consider the context in which these accounts were written. The Roman Empire was a culture that valued stability and order, and the portrayal of a ruler as mad served to legitimize his overthrow and to emphasize the importance of strong leadership. Furthermore, the practice of damnatio memoria, where a ruler's image and memory were systematically erased from public monuments and records, suggests a deliberate effort to demonize Caligula and to erase his legacy. Recent scholarship has challenged the traditional view of Caligula as purely mad, arguing that his actions, while undoubtedly bizarre and often cruel, may have been driven by a combination of factors, including illness, paranoia, and a desire to assert his authority in a turbulent political environment. Some historians suggest that his attempts to centralize power and undermine the Senate may have been a misguided but understandable response to the lingering influence of Tiberius' autocratic rule. His desire to elevate the status of the equestrian order, a social class below the Senate, may have been an attempt to create a more meritocratic system, though it was undoubtedly perceived as a threat to senatorial privilege. His military policies, while unconventional, may have been motivated by desire to modernize the Roman army and to challenge the traditional dominance of the aristocracy in military affairs. The attempt to appoint his favorite horse, Incitatus, to the Senate, often cited as a prime example of his madness, may have been a deliberately provocative act designed to humiliate the Senate and to demonstrate his absolute power. However, it's undeniable that his actions resulted in widespread suffering and instability, and that his reign ultimately contributed to the decline of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. In January 41 AD, the Praetorian Guard, led by Cassius Chaerea, assassinated Caligula during a military parade, bringing an abrupt end to his reign and plunging the empire into a succession crisis. The assassination was reportedly motivated by a combination of factors, including Caligula's insults, his arbitrary executions, and the growing discontent within the Praetorian Guard. Cassius Chaerea, a tribune in the Praetorian Guard, played a particularly significant role in the conspiracy, reportedly encouraging other soldiers to join the plot by mocking Caligula's perceived effeminacy and cruelty. Following Caligula's death, the Praetorian Guard proclaimed Claudius, his uncle, as emperor, marking a dramatic shift in power and signaling the end of the turbulent era. Caligula's legacy remains complex and controversial, his reign a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked power and the fragility of mental stability. While the sensationalized accounts of his depravity continue to captivate the popular imagination, recent scholarship offers a more nuanced perspective, recognizing the complexities of his character and the challenges he faced as a ruler in a turbulent era. Ultimately, Caligula remains an enigma, a figure whose story serves as a reminder of the enduring power of historical narrative and the difficulty of separating fact from fiction. His reign was a brief, chaotic period in Roman history, but it has continued to fascinate and provoke debate for centuries, ensuring his place as one of the most memorable and most misunderstood emperors of all time.